Joining us now, we run to Newt Gingrich, former House Speaker, Fox News contributor, somebody that knows a lot about all of this, including shutdowns. Newt, I just want to come back. It's a simple point. I've said it many times in recent weeks. The difference between essential and non-essential. If you're furloughing non-essential federal employees, why are we bringing them back? If they're non-essential, they're non-essential. All right, it's not personal. I don't mean to beat up on them, but to me, if the government doesn't need them, almost by definition, and I don't understand why the White House doesn't make this case. And you know, Russ Vogt is ready. What I call Doge 2.0, and it's legal because the CR, there's no appropriations for any of them. But I don't know why the White House, it looks like the president's inching closer to it, but he's never really used that language. Non-essential, then therefore make it non-essential, Newt.
No, I've always thought when you have, for example, a big snowstorm, and they announce that only essential personnel need to come to the office, I've always thought, that'd be a very high risk to define yourself as non-essential, because you then wonder, well, what if they decided not to keep the non-essential people? It's a great line, and it illustrates, first of all, a general popular belief that there are a lot more people shuffling papers and occupying offices than we really need if we ran the government in an efficient, clear way. It's very clear that the Schumer shutdown has actually become a trap for the Democrats. They're doing something the country doesn't want, which is shutting the government. They're doing it on behalf of dramatically greater spending, which the country doesn't want. And in the process, they're giving President Trump the opportunity to focus on their bureaucracies, their key areas, their programs. And you've already seen him, for example, suspend payment for a multi-billion-dollar project in Chicago. In the next couple of weeks, if this goes on, you'll see, I think, a very substantial reshaping of the federal government in a way that Democrats will look back on later and just think, how was I this dumb, and how did I let this happen?
That's the part I've never understood. Schumer is handing them this opportunity on a silver platter, and I think they should take it, okay? You don't have to be in love with the shutdown, but it is what it is. That's real politics, and now they have to take action. And you've written, and I've written, and others, Russ Vogt is ready. The laws are on the executive has the authority when there's no appropriation bills, they didn't renew them. They should do it. Just go on ahead and do it. You can remodel the government in a way that hasn't been done, I don't know, in how many years, maybe since World War II, maybe going further back than that. And I would just say Elon Musk was right. This is Essential Doge 2.0. And what's the mission here? The mission is get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse and bloat, get rid of corruption, and let the private sector restore its strength. The public sector should be weakened. The private sector should be strengthened. That's where the productivity and wages are going to come from. In other words, it's an economic take. Well, I'd like to see the White House use that.
Well, it's interesting in terms of really changing the government. When Lincoln came in, he eliminated 1,200 senior policy people and only kept 300 because he knew that the 1,200 would oppose every step to preserve the Union. But imagine that as a percentage when you apply it to the current gigantic government. I think the president does have a chance here. And frankly, the administration ought to make a stronger case that we are for dramatic growth in the private sector, creating greater jobs with higher take-home pay. And you're not going to get that by having lots of bureaucrats.
I remember when Lincoln did that. I lost my job. They put me over to the State Department. They took me out of the White House and they shoveled me over to the State Department. The other thing is, though, I'm very impressed. Republican messaging is good, and it's not crazed. It's low-keyed. It's straightforward. I think Speaker Johnson and Leader John Thune are doing a really good job on that. And they're saying, look, we will talk to you about all these health care issues and whatnot. But first, you got to sign on. First, you got to play ball with this. And I think that's good. And I'm glad Mr. Trump is back on that message today, too. This is very important. The Republicans look like the calm, rational party right now. Democrats, on the other hand, with this crazy talk from Pritzker and what's happening in Virginia that James Blair was talking about a few moments ago, this is insanity. Democrats are out there inciting violence, Newt. They are, I'm sorry, but they are inciting violence with their rhetoric. They deny it. You know, the Charlie Kirk thing, everybody denied. I'm sorry, here they go again. What do you expect to happen? There's like insurrections happening all over the country. It has to be stopped, Newt. It just has to be stopped.
Well, look, this is a key test of whether or not, as Lincoln put it, government of the people, by the people, and for the people is going to survive. I mean, you have a president, a House, and a Senate, which have been elected by the American people. They've taken a clear position, and in the case of getting rid of illegal immigrants, particularly those who are crooks, there's no question that that entire ICE program is legal, legitimate, and acting under the control of the commander-in-chief. So when you start having governors like Pritzker, you start having local officials literally interpose themselves between the federal government and their citizens, you're seeing something which is, by any reasonable standard, an insurrection. And going all the way back to George Washington, who raised an army of 13,000 in order to put down an insurrection in western Pennsylvania. There's been a consistent policy. President Eisenhower sent the 101st Airborne into Little Rock to insist on things. President Johnson sent the 82nd Airborne into Detroit. President Bush, George H.W. Bush, brought out the Insurrection Act of 1792, Washington's Act, when they had riots in Los Angeles in 1992. I mean, we've had these experiences. We've seen these problems. In the end, the Constitution works, and the elected officials under the Constitution have the ability to get done what the American people ask for. And those state and local officials who try to block it are engaged in insurrection. And in that sense, I think they're liable to very serious penalties.
Never seen anything like it. You're right. But Trump is just the guy. I mean, they're picking on the wrong guy. Trump will take action. He'll do what needs to be done. There's no two ways about that. Anyway, Newt Gingrich, as always, thank you for your wisdom. We appreciate it.